beer? Do you love sports and beer? Then you're exactly where you need to be. This is the Huebs Views Brews show on 1252 Sports Chicago. Cheers.
How's everyone doing on a Monday night after the White Sox and Cubs played a wild, weird, strange, bizarre weekend series at Guaranteed Rate Field? Welcome on in to Huebs Views and Brews here on the 1252 Sports Network. You can always find us on YouTube. You can find us also on Twitch, and also usually the day after Spotify for all of the audio, and you can always check out any of the ones you may have missed over the months that we've been doing the shows on any of those platforms. Also, if you're watching me on Facebook, you can still do that. Fat Mike keeps saying that he's going to try to eliminate that eventually, but I know a lot of people watch on Facebook, so if you are, that's great. Thank you very much. We will not do a show next week. It'll be Labor Day, so just enjoy, have your beverages, enjoy with your family, and get ready for the NFL, because the following Monday will be the day after the Bears' first game in the NFL. So it will be very, very cool. Teddy Brunson jumping on in. Nice to see Teddy jumping in. Did his podcast years ago before I decided to sit down and do one of mine. So that was a lot of fun. Yeah, so we'll do a show the day after the Bears game when they play the Rams, and we'll talk a little bit of Bears. We'll talk a lot of Bears with our guest, Steve Silverman. He'll join us in a little bit. But I will be doing a lot of Bears post-game shows on ESPN 1000 with Howard Griffith, unless that changes. And we will not do a couple of shows the first month of the season because of White Sox baseball and conflicts with White Sox baseball. And then we'll see what happens when October rolls around. And but we will be doing one on the opening night of the season for the Bears. That Sunday night after the Rams game. You can turn to ESPN 1000. You can also get us on the ESPN app, ESPN Chicago app, and a lot of other places, and listen to our post-game show, which hopefully will be after a Bears decent game against the Rams out at SoFi Stadium. So we'll be doing a lot of football talk a little bit later on. We'll have a lot of beer talk. No beer guests today, but we will have more beer guests. I got so much beer news and stuff to get into. We'll do that near the bottom half of the show. Also a What's Up Fred's Can. We'll get to that and a lot more, as we always do here each and every Monday night. Some of the Mondays are going to be interesting during the NFL season because we'll be starting the show at 7. The games usually start about 7:20, 7:25. So we'll get some shows done. We may do some quicker shows. When the Bears play on Monday night, we may change some things around, so we'll see how things work. Don't forget, you also have the Fat Mike show on Wednesdays, and on Sundays, you've got the World's Best Fantasy show as Tarbill and Space. They do the show. It's a fun show. I found out this Sunday, right as the show started, they let us know about J.K. Dobbins being out. I know a lot of questions for John Harbaugh about why you playing your number one running back in the last preseason game. He goes down with an injury and he's out for the season. Listen, it's football. Guys are going to get hurt. You can't protect everybody. It's not a game where you run around in bubble costumes, okay? So it happens. I hate when people say, well, there's no reason he shouldn't have played him. Okay, well, everyone was real happy to see Justin Fields out there for a half. He could have got hurt, then the future of the Bears would have been shut down. But nobody complained about that. They wanted to see him play in the first half. We'll talk a lot about that, about Dalton and Fields. Matt Nagy talked a little bit about it today. We'll get into some of that throughout the course of the conversation with Steve Silverman, and I'll get to a lot of other things. A lot of people that know me know, and I've mentioned it numerous times, my girlfriend Linda and I, we've been seeing each other for a year, and we went up to Door County this past week. And because we went up to Door County, I was able to buy some New Glarus beer. And I could have bought, Moon Man or Spotted Cow, and I should have bought more. and I could have. My refrigerator already has a lot of beer, as you can imagine. I talk about beer each and every week, and also have a lot from Skeleton Key and Buckle Down and Black Horizon and a lot of other breweries locally. But New Glarus came out with their Oktoberfest beer, and I will show you. It's the Staghorn Oktoberfest beer. I had one of these the other day. Very, very good. Bought a 6-pack. Could have bought more because it's very, very tasty. A lot of Oktoberfest beers coming up. Sorry for the shaking if you're watching on TV. But it's a very, very good Marzen beer, and that's what it is. It says here, let's see, 100% natural, great Midwestern and European malts, the world's most expensive hops, fresh yeast from Germany, and clear Wisconsin water, made our Staghorn Oktoberfest Wisconsin Real Red. You will find absolutely no additives, preservatives, or artificial agents. Staghorn is brewed using the time-honored methods to release the smooth flavor of our roasted malts. This Oktoberfest continues a smooth amber body with a clean, clear, crisp finish. You have to trust me on this because I'm drinking this one out of the bottle. I was getting yelled at by a couple of fans for drinking one of the beers out of a can, but New Glarus is a beer that you should drink out of the bottle if you have it. I don't need to pour it into a glass. Here's the Oktoberfest from New Glarus. Very, very tasty. And you can only get them in Wisconsin. So it was nice for me to pick up a 6-pack. Loved it, and we'll continue to love it as we go along. The Oktoberfest beers are great. We're not going to talk a lot of baseball today because of all the football talk, but I would like to talk a little bit about what happened over the weekend at Guaranteed Rate Field, because the White Sox give up 6 runs in the first inning on Friday to the Cubs. And I'm watching the game. And I know they came back and they won 17-13, one of the weirdest games you'll see. Home runs all over the place. But it seemed like when the series began, there was a fly ball to left center, and Luis Robert kind of jogged after it. There was Cesar Hernandez, a Gold Glove second baseman, who kind of came in, tried to scoop a ball with his glove, made an error. Later in the inning, got a ball on a rundown and threw to home plate and threw it over the head of Yasmani Grandal. Nice to have Yasmani back at the plate, at least, as he hit a couple of home runs in that game and drove in 8 runs. But Yasmani also did what Yasmani Grandal does a lot. He dropped a ball from a cutoff man on a play at the plate. Now, some people say, well, the runner collided with him and the ball got out of his glove. It happens all the time. It happens so often. When Yasmani Grandal holds onto a ball, I'm surprised. He doesn't do it very often. So I was tweeting like crazy in the first inning. Okay. It was 6-0 Cubs. And a lot of people I know started putting bets down. If they use Bet Rivers or FanDuel or whatever it is, saying the White Sox will win, and they were getting some nice odds after a 6-0 Cubs lead. Sox, as I mentioned, came back and got the 17-13 win. So you figure, okay, Sox score a lot of runs. The Sox and the Cubs, as a matter of fact, have done this in years past, where they will struggle scoring runs after they score a lot of one-run game. And that's what happened this time. They struggled a lot, okay? They struggled a ton. What they did was they got 4 hits off Alec Mills and a couple relievers on Saturday. And Lance Lynn, unusual for Lance Lynn, but he got lit up a couple of home runs. Patrick Wisdom took him deep a couple times, and the Cubs won the second game of the series. Then on Sunday, the White Sox went back to their big bats and scored 13 runs in a win. Now, people say, why are you concerned? The White Sox won. They took 2 out of 3. They won 5 out of 6 from the Cubs in the Crosstown series. I don't care that they beat the Cubs 5 out of 6. I mean, I know that's nice. But the things that bother me is little things like looking like you're getting lackadaisical out there. When you're on the field playing in Major League Baseball, you got to hustle all the time. In my opinion, when I'm watching a game, the only time, Javi Baez, I would ever boo is if a guy is not hustling. If a team loses, a team loses. And the Cubs are going to lose a lot. So if you're a fan of the Cubs and you go to Wrigley Field and you're booing the guys that are out there, that's not who you should boo. If you see Tom Ricketts walk by or Jed Hoyer walk by, you may want to boo them, okay? But there's no reason to boo the guys that are on the field busting their tail to try and make things, make things good. And that's the part that, we'll talk about Javi a little bit later on. And you know, I do have a segment called "What's Up, Fred's Can," and I'm still debating on how I'm going to go with this after watching Pardon the Interruption earlier today. So those things concern me a little bit. And Craig Kimbrell was brutal in that game the other day against the Cubs, giving up a couple more home runs. Kimbrell has done that against the Cubs a couple times this season, and you'd like to see him play a little bit better for the Southsiders. Now, they are going to have to figure out what to do with the back end of their bullpen with Craig Kimbrell and with Liam Hendriks. Tepera's been really good. Aaron Bummer has been bad, and it's so hard for him to get right. I've mentioned this numerous times, both here and on the radio, but Aaron Bummer is a guy that just constantly, if you take his pitches, he's not going to throw you 3 strikes. He won't throw you 3 strikes. He won't throw anybody 3 strikes in an at-bat. He's going to try and get you to swing at balls, and people have done it. Now, apparently, they're not doing it at times, and he walks quite a few people. It's been frustrating watching him pitch. We'll see how things go for them. I'm a little bothered by all of the sore hamstrings and sore legs of Tim Anderson. He played to look great on Friday, and then he's not being, he's sitting out on Sunday. So Yohan Moncada is hitting the ball well. It's about time, Yohan. August 15th. Since then, 15 days, hitting 375, 464 on base, and a 479 slug. Eloy Jimenez just keeps on doing it. He leads the American League with 27 RBIs. It might be a day off because of what happened Sunday, but 27 RBIs in August. Jose Abreu, who reached the 100 RBI mark with 24 runs batted in. So that's nice to see. And Dylan Cease, a guy that I wanted going at the beginning of the season because I wanted to keep Dane Dunning instead of Dylan Cease. Maybe I was wrong. Okay. He's got 10 strikeout games this season. Garrett Cole is the only other pitcher in baseball with more. He has 10 strikeout games this season. So it's nice to see Dylan Cease. Dallas Keuchel came out, and it was so nice to see Dallas Keuchel, a veteran pitcher, admit that he is the worst of the pitchers in the starting staff. How nice was it to see Ronaldo Lopez go 5 scoreless innings in that game on Friday? Nice, real nice pitching from Ronaldo Lopez. Nice to see a guy that's always been said that he has really good stuff. But he, for some reason, one reason or another, he wasn't able to get it done. Even in the minors this year, as a starter in the minors, he was struggling big time when the White Sox called him up. But he's pitched very, very well. I don't know if it's being with Ethan Katz or what it is, but it's nice to see him do as well as he has been doing. We're going to talk with Steve Silverman in just a little bit. Steve not here yet. Hopefully we can check in and make sure he gets here, and we can talk some football here with Steve. And that'll be a good time because Steve and I, we did pregame shows with Raymond Harris. We did pregame shows with Dave Durson over on ESPN 1000. So we've done a lot of different things together, and it'd be great to talk some football with him. I know that he planned on getting here. Maybe he's having some problems with the connection. So let me start some football talk ahead of time without him being here. We may or may not be able to reach him. But the Bears played their exhibition game the other day, and it was game 3 of the exhibition season. The NFL is playing 17 games this year, and because of that, they took away a preseason game. Wasn't that nice of them? Why didn't they take 2 away? 2 would have been enough. You don't need to see 3 preseason games, I guess, unless you're Jesper Horsted. Okay, Horsted is a guy that he was one of the 9 tight ends the Bears had last year. And you look at where he ranks on the tight end list right now for the Bears. You have Cole Kmet, Jimmy Graham, Jesse James, who they got over, who was a former Steeler. And now Jesper Horsted looks like he bulked up a little bit more. He looked big. He looked strong. He had nice hands. He got his feet down in the end zone on the touchdown in the second quarter from Justin Fields. Then he also caught 2 more in the second half, 3 touchdown receptions from Horsted. He also is a special teams guy. Nice to see. But other than that, and I know I heard people talking today about look how the Bears offense struggled. Now, you can look at it two ways, okay? The Bears offense struggled in the first half with Justin Fields. They had an offensive line that had Peters at the left tackle position and Affetti at the right tackle position. On the first series, I think it was, Affetti lets the outside pass rusher get past him and gets to Justin Fields. And so these are two guys basically playing their first action in preseason football this year. And they both were a little rusty. Now they actually have time off because the Bears don't play till September 12th. They have a good 10 days, 11 days, 12 days off to get in shape, get some continuity with the offensive linemen in practice, because with Whitehair at the left guard position, Mustafa at center, and Daniels, who is at the right guard position, I think the offensive line could be good, but you don't know exactly how long that or how long it's going to take for this offensive line to start to click. So Mark Potash from the Sun-Times, he was one of the guests we had earlier this year here on Huebs Views Brews. He said the question is not if Fields is ready. The question is the Bears offense ready for Fields? And because of the struggles that the offensive line has, it may not be. It may be a situation where they are not ready. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how exactly things are going to work for the Bears at that position, because things are struggling just a bit. I got a message here, and it's always tough when you're doing a show and you're getting messages. So, yeah, for some reason, my guy's not getting through. So I can actually, it's tough for me to do it. So we'll see what we can do. We'll see if we can grab Steve on another occasion, unless I can get him now, as you see me texting during the show, which is always nice. So anyway, we'll talk a lot of Bears. And if you want to jump in, if you're watching, you can always comment, and we will talk about your questions, take your questions, and respond to them. So as I get that last message out. So I don't have a problem with the Bears starting Andy Dalton. They've told you what they planned on doing. They've told you exactly how it was going to play out. Now, because of what Justin Fields has been able to do, maybe they'll have a situation where Fields may play sooner than you thought. Maybe he plays a little bit earlier. Maybe he comes in for plays. We've seen in the past what the New Orleans Saints have done when they had Drew Brees and they went to Taysom Hill and things like that. Maybe Matt Nagy puts in plays that are just for him. Who knows? Maybe it's a situation that happens. And I would like to see him get in week 3, week 4, but I'm not going to worry about it. As a Bears fan, we're going to sit and watch how the offensive line deals, watch how things work for the Chicago Bears, and go from there. Some of the other things you want to get to. We mentioned the offensive line. Affetti had a penalty. Mustafa had a hold. If you go with Affetti at the one end, and then Daniels, Mustafa, Whitehair, and Peters, nice little start. You have Borum, the 5th-round pick, at the possibility as a guy that can come in. Elijah Wilkinson, also a guy that the Bears picked up in the offseason, a guy that had a bunch of snaps with Denver at the tackle position. Maybe he can help out and actually get out there and do some playing. What Nagy said today, Andy has shown us what he can do. He has done what we've asked of him. Talking about Justin Fields, he says he needs to play well versus the ones. And I've mentioned this numerous times, and it happens quite a bit. A lot of times during the course of a season, a quarterback will get hurt, and you see the backup quarterback come in. And the backup quarterback knows the first-team offense, but he doesn't get any opportunities during the season to actually play against him. So he doesn't have the opportunity. He doesn't get the plays. And because of that, it makes it very, very difficult. So one more thing, I'm still getting some trying to get some other stuff out there. And with Steve, we'll have to connect with Steve some other time. I think we're having a problem connecting with our guy, Steve Silverman. So I'm just going to let it go, put the phone down. It's easier on radio. You got 2 or 3 guys that are producing for you on the other side of the glass, and they're the ones that set up the calls. But this way, with things coming into me, it makes it a little more difficult. So anyway, the cornerback situation is a problem for me too. As I get off the quarterbacks, because we can go back and forth in the quarterbacks. Everyone has their opinion of what to do, what not to do at the quarterback position. So we'll see exactly how that's going to play out for the Bears. I expect Andy Dalton to be there until he gets hurt or until the Bears start to struggle with him at quarterback. And then maybe you put in Justin Fields and go from there. It is a big year for Matt Nagy and for Ryan Pace. They made the move. They jumped up in the draft to take Justin Fields, a guy that plays the kind of offense in the NFL that a lot of these young quarterbacks are playing, and a lot of these young quarterbacks are able to play. Something the Bears offense has never had, okay? The Bears have never had an offense that could do these kind of things. They've never had a quarterback that was able to roll and throw on the run, at least not recently, okay? We know that Mitchell Trubisky could throw on the run. He wasn't very accurate. Another sip of my beer as I contemplate other things. Okay. So they have Justin Fields, a guy that can do so many things. And I'm not going to say like Patrick Mahomes. I'm not going to say like Lamar Jackson. But the nice things that we've seen from Justin Fields so far is his ability to take off and run, his ability to get out from the rush and just take off. And he just glides out of the box. He just glides past, into the run. It's fun to watch him. Seems like he's very, very well equipped. And again, going to Georgia and then going to Ohio State and playing against top level talent in college football, there's a good reason. We've expected that. There are a lot of other quarterbacks out there. We're going to talk about that in a minute. A lot of other rookie quarterbacks, and that's all of the talk leading up to the first week of the NFL season. Who's going to be quarterback? Is this guy going to get a chance to play? What about this guy? What's going to happen here? So we'll talk a little bit about that in just a tad. But I want to talk more about the Bears and about their quarterback or their cornerback position. Okay, Jalen Johnson and Kendall Vildor, the only guys they have. They're the starters right now. Jalen Johnson came in, played well last year. When he was hurt, Vildor took over at his position. They lost Kyle Fuller in the offseason. Okay, Desmond Trufant has been away for a little bit. His father passed away, and he will likely be back at practice sometime this week. They have Artie Burns, another guy at the nickel position, Duke Shelley, who made a couple of really nice tackles. And when I say tackles, early in the game, Shelley hit a guy, just hit him. Didn't even grab up or do anything. Later on, made a nice tackle. Was nice to see. And Christian Marquis is a guy that's making some plays, and the Bears are looking for him. But these are guys you haven't heard of, guys that they're hoping can come in and play the nickel. Now, the Bears, like most defenses in the NFL, are a nickel a lot because there are a lot of teams that come out throwing the ball and throw it often. That's why the running games in all of football have kind of taken a back seat. You don't have the dominant rushers throughout the NFL. Obviously, you have a few. You have your Derrick Henrys and you have your Cooks and Kamaras and Elliots and things like that, but you don't have nearly as many. Every team doesn't have that big guy that's going to get to the 1,000 or 1,000+ yards. So I'm eager to see how the Bears defense works. They kept showing pictures of Khalil Mack on the broadcast the other day. And I know Adam Amin brought it up. The statistics, the analytics show that he's been able to get to the quarterback, but he's not getting him down. He had 9 sacks, I think it was, last year. That's not enough for a guy that's getting paid the kind of money he is, and that's why they brought him in. They said no help from the other side, Robert Quinn. We also had Leonard Floyd, who wasn't helping, and Leonard Floyd goes to the Rams, and the Bears will get a chance to see him on the opening game of the season. So I know when you're double and triple team, don't you think that J.J. Watt's double and triple team? Don't you think that every pass rusher gets double and triple teamed? What happens is they can beat some of these guys. Khalil Mack, if he was beating the double teams and getting to the quarterback, he wasn't getting to them effectively enough. Now, they said since 2015, one of the stats that was showed, since 2015, the situation was that he had more forced fumbles than any player in the NFL. More forced fumbles. So we'll see if he can get that and the Bears can get back to takeaways, things like that, things they were so good at in 2018 when they went 12-4. We'll see how that defensive line works. I'm eager to see how Hicks plays, looking for a contract, and hopefully he plays and doesn't talk contract throughout the course of the season. It was nice to see a guy like Allen Robinson, who was not dressed for this game this past Saturday, but he says all the right things. He's talking about playing with Andy Dalton. He's talking about playing with a veteran and then helping learn and helping to teach a rookie in Justin Fields. So I'm eager to see the kind of season that Allen Robinson can have. That'll be the last time I say that he had a hard time with 50-50 balls in the last year or two. I'm saying that he's going to have a really good season. I know he had 102 catches last year. We'll see what he can do with a veteran quarterback like Andy Dalton. Okay. Travis Gibson, by the way, also had a nice game the other day. I know it was late in the third. I think it was third quarter. Came around the end, caused a fumble. Well, that was in the first half, actually. They all kind of blend together after a while. The NFC North is a situation where I think the Bears can do well against the Minnesotas, against the Detroits. We'll see what they do against the Green Bay Packers. The defense is going to be put to the test against Green Bay. The Bears haven't really played the Packers all that well of late. Over to the rookie quarterbacks for a couple of minutes, okay? Trevor Lawrence is getting just attacked, and he can expect to get attacked throughout much of the early season with Jacksonville because the offensive line in Jacksonville is going to be definitely a work in progress. I saw a stat, and heard a stat actually, on NFL Live today that in the preseason, he is being pressured 42% of the time, more than any other quarterback in the NFL preseason. Now, it's amazing. I know it's preseason. It's stats in the preseason about quarterback pressures. Unbelievable. Daniel Jones of the Giants is second, and that's a struggle for him because the Giants' offensive line is one that is also a work in progress. But when you look at it, you got Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville, you got Wilson with the Jets, Mac Jones with New England, and NFL Live today on ESPN went over all of the good things that Mac Jones has been able to do. Bill Belichick, no surprise, not tipping his hand at who the starting quarterback is going to be, either Cam Newton or Mac Jones. Cam Newton has not played poorly for the Patriots, so it'll be interesting to see which they go with. And I know this makes it difficult for all the people that play fantasy football. I know Fat Mike had his fantasy draft yesterday at Nick and Ivy. I stopped by with my girlfriend Linda. We had a Nick of Time, or at least I had a Nick of Time barrel-aged stout, which was awesome, and also a Locktoberfest, which was very, very good. Their spin on the Oktoberfest Marzen-style beer. And we're going to talk more about Nick and Ivy in a little bit. But when you're drafting quarterbacks in fantasy football, it's difficult. And I know I'm in two leagues. One has a draft next Sunday. One has a draft the following Tuesday on the September 7th, 2 days before the first game in the NFL. And quarterback is a situation where you've got to figure out, are you going to draft a guy that may or may not get time? It's interesting. That's why I'm surprised so many people have their fantasy drafts early, because it's very, very difficult when they do have them early, because guys like J.K. Dobbins, maybe somebody grabbed him really nice and early, and now they're down because he's done for the season. I really like in my two fantasy leagues, we have the draft the week before, like 6 days or 5 days. We're doing this one. Was it 4 days and 2 days before the start of the regular season? You'll pretty much know who's quarterbacking. You know the numbers. You'll know the injuries going into week one of the season. Trey Lance is an interesting guy with the 49ers because, as you may or may not know, I don't know, I can turn my cameras around. Michael, how you doing? Go safe with quarterbacks. I know that would be a nice thing. There you see my Jerry Rice up there, and I've got a Joe Montana over in the other corner. I'm a big 49ers fan, okay? So I'm actually taping the game because I didn't get a chance to do it the other day, 49ers and the Raiders, because what Kyle Shanahan was doing was rotating his quarterbacks based on down and distance and where they were and what he wanted to get done. And Trey Lance was able to throw for a touchdown and also run for one, and Jimmy Garoppolo ran for a score. And Kyle Shanahan's the kind of guy that he is so good at running his offense and play calling in the National Football League. The question is he going to rotate quarterbacks? Is it going to be Garoppolo and Trey Lance? Because Trey Lance played one college football game last year because of COVID and everything else and being in North Dakota State. Garoppolo has had a struggle with injuries. We all know that. So I'm eager to see how that's going to play out as a 49ers fan. It looked really good against the Raiders yesterday, but again, the third preseason game, what are you really going to get out of that? And what are you going to take out of that you're going to put into your decisions when it comes to fantasy football? I mentioned Jesper Horsted. That's cool. Rodney Adams, by the way, another guy I'm eager to see where he gets, maybe a practice squad guy, maybe the fifth or sixth receiver the Bears have, because they have Daz Newsome, who's been hurt much of camp. Rodney Adams has been able to play very, very well. They also have Robinson and Mooney. And so they have the guys who can catch the ball this year. That's what makes me a little bit excited about this Bears offense. And we didn't see much of David Montgomery. And I'm eager to see Montgomery and eager to see what the Bears actually do with their running game. Fat Mike asked me, why exactly am I a 49ers fan? The story's not a long one. It's an old one. When I was young, and that was many, many moons ago when I was young, but they always showed Notre Dame football. So I was a freshman, sophomore in high school, sitting in my room watching Notre Dame football. And actually, I might have been a little older, even junior or senior in high school, and watching Notre Dame football. And I saw Joe Montana making comebacks in the regular season and making comebacks in the Cotton Bowl and all those kind of things. Steve McMichael wasn't really happy when I told him my love for Joe Montana because he beat Texas in the bowl game and also beat the Bears in playoff time. But I became a Montana fan. Montana was drafted by the 49ers. And my father moved out to San Francisco, the Bay Area. He and my mother got divorced when I was a senior in high school. So I kind of, I think he was drafted in 80 or 81. So I became a fan of the 49ers. Good time to become a fan of the 49ers as they became the team of the decade in the 80s. So that's why my basement is adorned with 49er stuff. And my new house, when I move to Lockport, is going to have a basement that's going to have a lot of 49ers, a lot of red and gold in that room. And I know my brothers say, well, I can just get rid of that stuff, maybe sell it on eBay when I actually start cleaning up. The NFL has been an organization that has been against gambling for the longest time. 2015, Roger Goodell said, yes, there's gambling, and we're going to do everything we can do to stay away from it. Today, the NFL reached an agreement with Fox Bet, BetMGM, PointsBet, and WinBet to become the approved sportsbook operators for the 2021 season. Now, I have no problem with that. I understand the reasons that the NFL stayed away. There were always such big gambling controversies in sports back in the day, college football or college basketball and things like that. But it's interesting. So many different platforms to wager. Just here in Chicago, I have Bet Rivers, and I also have PointsBet. And I was trying to get FanDuel, but I forgot that FanDuel now you have to go down to Collinsville to sign up because you have to do it at the site on premises, and then you can get the FanDuel app. So I did not do it when they initially had that opening where you could do it anywhere. So just an interesting thing that the NFL now knows that they've opened up the gambling to everybody, to one and all. Come on in and gamble on the NFL games, and we will do that. It shocked me. People gambled in preseason. I'm looking forward already to the regular season. The Bears are getting 7.5, I think it was, against the Rams for that Sunday night. So we'll wait and see how that all plays out. I am not a college football guy. I love the pros. Do not watch college, and I'll explain that too. Years ago when I got married to my lovely wife, Pat, in August of 1981. And I told her, I said, listen, I said, I am not going to give up my Sundays and watching the NFL because I'm watching games from noon and into the Sunday night game and everything else. So I'm in front of the TV all day long. My brothers are coming over. My friends are coming over. We're watching games, okay? I said, but I will give you every Saturday. We can do whatever you want to do. Go shopping. We can check things out, go to dinner, go travel, do whatever you'd like to do on a Saturday. Fat Mike might want to take note of this, as Fat Mike's nuptials are coming up in a week. But yeah, sometimes you have to give a little bit. And I gave college football. I gave my Saturdays. I was a big Notre Dame fan, still follow Notre Dame. This Saturday, there are some big games in college football. There's a big game on Friday night if you're a Michigan State fan or a Northwestern fan, as Michigan State and Northwestern go at it up in Evanston. A couple big games on Saturday, LSU against UCLA and also Georgia Clemson. I'm not a college football fan. I know people say, how can you be such an NFL fan and not a college football fan? I'll let other people tell me what happens in the college game. Let other people tell me which quarterbacks or which running backs or wide receivers or tackles are guys that should be going in the draft. And then when you get to the NFL, we'll see. You can't. Okay, some people will say you can. You can't be a fan of each and every sport. I've worked in sports since 1977. Okay, sports phone from 77 to 90, the score from 92 to 08, and ESPN from 2010 until now. You cannot be a fan and an expert at all of it. You don't have enough time in the day to stay up on all of it. The NHL, the NBA, football, college football, baseball, soccer. Okay, you can't do it. So I pick and choose. I'm baseball, I'm the NFL, and I keep an eye on soccer. And then it's the Bulls and the Blackhawks. And I don't watch college football. Sorry. Black and Abdallah, they watch it quite often. We're going to have our college football tailgate show coming back on ESPN 1000 on Saturdays. Jay Hood loves his Georgia Bulldogs, okay? So listen to those guys for college football talk. You're not going to get a whole lot of it here on Huebs Views and Brews. We are going to take a quick break, and then we'll talk about beer. I'll throw a little some fantasy stuff in there. Not a whole lot of fantasy stuff, but just a little bit. Some questions maybe I could throw out too for fantasy. When we come back, a quick word from our sponsors. Time for me to have a sip of beer, and we go from there here on Huebs Views and Brews.
Hello, this is Paul from Nick and Ivy Brewing Company. We are located at 1026 South State Street in historic downtown Lockport, Illinois. We are very excited to be partnering up with the Fat Mike Chicago Sports Show as well as the 1252 brand because we are one of the few Chicagoland breweries that embrace sports and sports culture. Come in for a fresh brewed beer made right here in Lockport while catching the game of your favorite team. Stay for the live music that we have booked every weekend. Or just come for a cozy atmosphere to enjoy a good conversation with a friend, loved one, or complete stranger. Nick and Ivy makes you feel right at home no matter what the occasion is. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook by searching for Nick and Ivy Brewing Company. Visit our website for our up-to-date tap list or to go shopping on our online store at nickivybrewing.com. That's Nikivy brewing.com. Come in today for a fresh brewed beer born and raised in Lockport, Illinois.
And a great time at Nick and Ivy yesterday. They celebrating their first year anniversary with a big weekend at Nick and Ivy, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Yesterday, Fat Mike and a bunch of his guys had their fantasy football draft there. My girlfriend Linda and I stopped by, as I mentioned earlier. And he also had their Nick of Time barrel-aged stout, really, really tasty, and had 8 to 9 ounces of that. That was very, very good, along with their Oktoberfest. So get on out there. I know Monday nights, they've got the car show in Lockport and lots of stuff happening at Nick and Ivy Brewing. Fantasy football. The biggest question for a lot of people, number one pick. Now, for the longest time, my brothers ran 2 leagues of their own. And one of them was just a scoring league. The other one was PPR, half PPR, whatever. And I was only in the scoring league. So I would sit there with them for the draft, and then I would leave, and then they went in a whole other draft with points for receptions, points for yards, rushing, and things like that. And Christian McCaffrey's been the top pick for a while. It appears that Christian McCaffrey's the top pick now. I looked at a lot of different sites, and it's running back heaven, which I understand. You got Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, Elliott. Then you got a receiver in Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones back to the running game, Tyreek Hill, and then Barkley. Travis Kelce as a tight end seems a little high, only because of tight ends. I'm one of those guys who loves tight ends, okay? And no snappy remarks there. The tight end position is one where I always end up looking, and I always end up having too many. And maybe that's why I haven't won a lot in the last several years. But I'm looking forward to my fantasy drafts. Hopefully you've all had some success in yours. Michael earlier asked me, so what do I do with the 12th and 13th pick? Well, the only thing I can probably tell you is make sure you grab a running back somewhere, and maybe 2, or the top receiver you can get. At that point, we go 12 and 13, because as it comes all the way back, it's going to be quite a while before you get your next picks, and a lot of those guys are going to be gone. That's always a fun time, is the draft. The draft, in my opinion, the best time in fantasy football is the draft. That's the time where you look forward to making the decisions and making everything pan out, and hopefully get it done the way you want it to. Okay, I mentioned Nick and Ivy a couple times, and which is fine. I love Nick and Ivy. They're a sponsor on our shows. And Paul, Nick, they've done a great job over there. Like I said, a really nice crowd yesterday, besides the people that were there for the fantasy draft. But there's a Fat Mike Lager that's been out, and now there's going to be the Huebner IPA. Okay, I saw the label the other day. It's a 6.4, kind of a West Coast IPA, and it's going to be coming out soon. Cannot wait. When it does, I'll make sure I show it to you and present it to you right here as I'm presenting my Staghorn Oktoberfest beer from New Glarus, as I take another sip real quick. So a lot of other things going on. Oh, by the way, the Nick of Time was 10% for all those people who did get a bottle of it. Congrats, because it was really, really tasty. Really good stuff. A lot of other beer notes I wanted to get to. This is one of the reasons I didn't have a beer guest this week. I hope to have one in the coming weeks. Maybe not after the Bears game, but definitely right after that. And because we do the show on Monday nights, a lot of times they'll be recapping what happened in the Bears game, me bitching, moaning, complaining about what happened in the Bears game, or being ecstatic and say, hey, things went well. And then I'll probably throw some 49er stuff in there for you, too. Goldfinger Brewing is making a Munich Dunkel, kind of a darker beer with 100% German hops. It's a beer they're making. It'll be ready after Oktoberfest. Cannot wait for that. Speaking of Oktoberfest, the Beer Cellar has their Oktoberfest coming up September 11th. Also, Miskatonic has a release, a Oktoberfest release coming out on September 10th. Looking forward to that. Miskatonic always does some great things. Also, Miskatonic and other breweries back to the mask policy of a mask on when walking around and not seated in the brewery. And also, congrats to Evan Davis. And I got a chance to meet Evan at Goldfinger Brewing when she was working behind the bar there. And then she was at, I saw her do some other things. Now she's the taproom lead at Miskatonic Brewing. So that's very, very nice to see. She's been working very, very hard. And like always, you work hard and good things happen. So congratulations to Evan. The Open-toberfest. And when I say open, you say open. Well, open bottle. Okay. I had the guy from Open Bottle on a couple of weeks ago, and Open Bottle Lockport, Open Bottle in Tinley. They have their Open-toberfest in Lockport, September 25th. In Tinley Park, October 1st and 2nd. You got beers, pretzels, shirts, Stein holding contest, all those kind of things. That'd be very, very cool. Also, another new brewery coming up in LaGrange Park. Coming at the end of 2021, Hop District Community Brewing will be in LaGrange Park on 31st Street. Best of luck to them. Cannot wait to get on out there. Hopefully we get the guys from Hop District on here on Huebs Views and Brews. And speaking of openings, the Open Door Tap Room in Clarendon Hills, they keep working, and they keep showing pictures. Dylan working hard, trying to get that ready. They're getting closer in Clarendon Hills, the Open Door Tap Room. Hopefully get a chance to talk with those guys as they get a little bit closer. Buckle Down beer. I saw a post, and anybody that's a big fan of Buckle Down knows Sean Mahoney, also with an Ike Orcutt, are the two guys that were behind the start of Buckle Down Brewing. Sean has decided to step away from that and go elsewhere, but he posted a really nice thing on Facebook to all the people that we've had a chance to meet. And meeting Sean was a great, great thing for me. I loved having a great time over there. Love going to Buckle Down. Ike and his wife now taking over control of the brewery on their own. The original Hideout Hazy IPA. Now, they've also done spinoffs of that, but the original Hideout Hazy IPA, from Buckle Down. It was a collaboration with Fuller House and also Pierce Tavern. Fuller House in Hinsdale and Pierce Tavern in downtown Downers Grove. Two tremendous restaurants. If you get a chance to head over there, they have great beer lists. But the Hideout Hazy IPA is coming back for a public release this Saturday, September 4th at Buckle Down Brewing. So that'll be very, very cool. I mentioned there's a lot of beer news. It's a ton of it, which is great to see. There's beer fests everywhere. And this past weekend, I was busy with my own anniversary with my girlfriend Linda and other things. But Beer Under Glass took place on Friday at the Garfield Park Conservatory. It was hot as hell. I saw pictures from there, the people that were pouring beer, the people that enjoyed Beer Under Glass. Also, there was the Oak Park Microbrew Fest. And there was also the Naperville Beer Fest, which I drove past at the Naperville Settlement. I was kind of thinking, wouldn't it be nice if they could schedule one every week so that we can hit all the ones we want and not have to pick and choose? Like, do I go to Beer Under Glass and then the next day go to here, or can I make both, or can I hit two at once? It's very, very difficult. Michael, you're right. There is an Oktoberfest at Beer and Now coming up in Lisle. Believe it or not, with all the beer stops I've not been to Beer and Now yet. I will get out there soon because there's also another brewery. I want to say it's Bubble House Brewing, and I think that's going to open soon in Lisle. So it's great for us beer lovers. There's beer everywhere, which you cannot get enough of. I asked people what their favorite beer fest was, and we didn't get a lot of responses, but it was funny because Dustin got back to me and said Westmont Winter Beer Fest, which I was fortunate enough to do some commercials for and do some promotion for a couple of years ago before COVID hit. I love the Westmont Winter Beer Fest. Had a great time there. Just tremendous group of beers. And I don't know how they did it, but it was cold as hell the two times they had it, the first two events. And hopefully they'll be getting to have more. And the tents they had and the heaters they had, it was toasty warm. They had bonfires there and everything else, some food trucks, wonderful time. But I love beer fests. They're a lot of fun, and especially when the ones now with have a chance to have the people taste and sample a lot of different things and hopefully do it safely. And yeah, I didn't get a chance to go to any this week. I don't know if I'm going to have a chance to go to many of them in the upcoming month or so with the work I'm going to be doing on Saturdays and Sundays at ESPN 1000. But hey, there's always the future, right? Always the future. Each and every week before we go, and so I can take another sip of my beer. Each and every week, we do a segment called What's Up Fred's Can. Let's get to that right now.
Well, maybe it's just because you're ugly.
Ugly? You gotta be kidding me.
Time for What's Up Fred's Can on 1252 Sports Chicago.
Okay, I wasn't exactly sure how to go after this. And I know I saw Angelo earlier. Angelo Camacho said, I'm interested to see Fred's spin on the Javi Baez situation. Javi Baez getting booed along with the rest of the Mets because the Mets had a nice lead in the American League East. And since Javi's gone over there, it's not just Javi, the whole team, but since Javi's gone over there, they've struggled. And they've been getting booed quite a bit, especially after losing a bunch of games on the West Coast to the Giants and the Dodgers. And Javi, along with Francisco Lindor, his buddy, guy he grew up with, guys he knows quite well, they do a thing when they do something well, they do a thumbs down back to the dugout. And the reason they do the thumbs down is it's a thumbs down to the fans. So when the players do something good, they do that in response to the fans booing. They say, listen, well, the fans can boo. So when we do something well, we're going to give thumbs down. And that's to the fans to say, hey, listen, we're doing this for ourselves. Well, that's not necessarily a good thing when you're a professional athlete. Okay. The fans are there for you. They cheer you when you do well. And they boo you when you don't. Now, as a fan, a sports fan, I've never actually booed. I may have said, you suck or get out of here, or, I would but I never stood up and actually booed. Think about it. You stand up and you just go, boo. It's so weird. It's a bizarre thing. So if a guy's bad, I'll just try to ignore him. I love cheering more than I like booing. Okay. Team president Sandy Alderson says it's totally unacceptable, will not be tolerated. It was all the talk in sports radio around the country. And in New York, it was on the front or back page of the New York Post, the sports section, and everything else like that. Now I'm listening to Pardon the Interruption today with Michael Wilbon, Tony Kornheiser. And Michael Wilbon is a Cubs fan. And Michael Wilbon, as most Cub fans, hates the New York Mets. So he had no problem with what Javi Baez was doing. And he was saying that all the fans in New York, Philadelphia, that kind of stuff, and the way they boo their athletes and things like that, he said it was nice to see an athlete actually go back and give it to the fans. I'm not necessarily for that. Javi's got to realize that when your on-base percentage is under 300, you're looking to make big money. Sure, you hit a home run. Oh, you make nice slides. You're the best guy ever at tagging people at second base. Okay, that's not getting you wins. You won a World Series with the Cubs in 2016. I'll be interested to see how things are going to go for Javi when the season's over. John Heyman wrote a report earlier today saying that it's a good chance that Javi Baez could come back to the Cubs. We'll see. I'm more eager. If you're a Cub fan, I would think you're eager to see Nick Madrigal and Nico Horner as your double play combination for a long time. Horner at short, Nick Madrigal at second base. Who knows at first base? Maybe Frank Schwindel for a while until you decide to pick somebody else up. Okay. So what's up, Mike Can, is athletes that boo the fans. Your job is to go on out there, play as hard as you can all the time. And when you watch Javi Baez play, he swings real hard. He plays really well in the field. He slides well, but he's got to learn how to hit. And I know that sounds silly coming from a 64-year-old guy sitting there in his basement talking on a podcast, but Javi Baez has the abilities to become a good hitter. He just doesn't seem to want to use them. And that would be the most frustrating thing to me if you're a fan of the Cubs or the Mets or wherever Javi Baez was and you were cheering or booing for him. He's got the ability. He has a tremendous ability, but he just swings from his heels at every attempt. Put the ball in play. Put the ball the other way. Do something. Get on base at more than a 280 or 290 rate. You got to do that. And for that reason, that's what's up my can. It's the way Javi Baez has taken it upon himself to show that what the fans with the thumbs down. Listen, the fans deserve to boo you, Javi. The fans at Wrigley Field didn't because you helped them win a World Series. But until you start hitting the ball and hitting your 300 and playing all-star second base or shortstop or wherever you're going to play, wherever you are in the next place, there's going to be times you get booed for the swings you take at pitches. There was a swing last week. I almost forgot this. There was a swing last week that hit all of social media. Javi Baez swung at a pitch. He was completely done with the swing. Completely done with swing before the ball got to home plate. Talk about just making up your mind beforehand. Now, maybe that was the night that Javi was upset, frustrated about the booing, but just brutal. And again, he's got the ability. He's got the talent. That's what's tough. When you know the guy's got the ability and the talent and he doesn't take the time to make himself a better hitter. He can do it. We'll see what happens as we go along. I've been communicating with my guy, Steve Silverman. We'll figure out what to happen and why he was unable to connect with us tonight. But hopefully you're able to enjoy some of the football talk we had, some of the beer talk, and again, tons of beer talk. We will not be doing a show next week. Enjoy your Labor Day. Have many, many beverages safely. Maybe some Oktoberfest. Maybe we'll talk about some Oktoberfest and a bunch of the Oktoberfest beers when we get together again. The Bears play their first game on the 12th. We'll be back here on September 13th, breaking down Bears football, breaking down the first weekend of the NFL season, and also talking beers as we always do. Thanks to my guy, Andrew Tarbill, who helped me out. And thanks to all of you for tuning in, for listening. Again, you can always catch the shows live on my Facebook page on Facebook at 1252 Sports. Also, you can catch them on Twitch and on YouTube. You can always catch the older shows there. And usually on Tuesdays, you can find the show on Spotify. So you're driving around, listening to Huebs Views and Brews in your car on Spotify during the week. Thanks a lot for jumping on in. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. And we will talk to you again in 2 weeks right here on Huebs Views and Brews on 1252 Sports.